Okay, so good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Today we have Dola ma'am, who is a pioneer in unschooling and self-directed learning. So we will look into her journey and how it goes. So, ma'am, I would just like to ask you, how old are your children?
First of all, you can just call me Dola. I mean, I think in our community, nobody calls each other sir and ma'am. I think
Yeah,
we've wanted to come out of that. That's why we are unschooling. Now, if we start doing that here also, then in fact, even the my children's friends don't call me auntie or ma'am. They call me by my name, and my children also call a lot of my friends by their name. Of course, unschoolers, not the non-unschoolers. For the non-unschoolers and school-going people and relatives, there's a totally different rule. So there's Chachi and Chacha and Mama Mami, but among our community, we do stick to first names a lot unless somebody insists that no, I want to be called auntie or uncle or something. But I think among ourselves we need not resort to such formalities at all. Yeah. So okay, I just want to ask something. It I would prefer it to be more question answers. So I don't like to talk about myself much nowadays, but unless I have a context. So if somebody has a query, please ask, and accordingly I will respond. If you ask me to give a speech, then I won't have anything to say, right? So that's my request to you. If you like really want to make use of this time that we have, please feel free to ask anything at all, but better you ask, then I can respond. Okay, now this other thing is, Suma just asked me how old are my children. Yeah, so my daughter is 19 now and my son is 15.
and like, have they chosen their path of interest?
I think they've always chosen their path of interest. So choosing a path of interest is not something that happens one fine day. It's kind of a journey for us. So all this while, whatever they have been choosing or doing is always been their interest. So I think so for me and for us, the idea is not to reach an interest, but to keep on following your interests, and that's the whole purpose of unschooling for us. So yeah, so they've had different interests at different times, but over a period of time they've kind of zeroed in on some vital ones. So like my daughter is pursuing music in different ways, so instruments, vocal, and she self-taught herself Korean language, and she's learning Japanese language from a mentor who's a Japanese lady. She lives in Japan, and so these are her. And she's into yoga. She also teaches yoga now. So first she started learning from somebody, and then her guru felt that she was ready to also teach. So she teaches as well, and she's into other kinds of fitness, so cross fitness. So physical fitness is a big part of her life. She's interested, and she's a baker. She bakes a lot. She's gluten intolerant and lactose intolerant, so she's been researching on non gluten bakery. So she's into non gluten bakery a lot. So she bakes a lot without wheat and flour and milk and things like that. So, and of course, she's like any other teenager. She loves to watch stuff on, movies and serials, and she's pop music, rock music. Music, of course, is a very big part of her life. And she learned how to drive car and scooter and everything. So she's fairly independent in commuting. That's her. And of course, she's still exploring many other things as well. Okay, and my son, he's of course, like he's a major part of his life is video gaming. uh, and he's quite a tech savvy guy, so he has twice built his own computer. He's helped many of his friends build their computers. A lot of people call him up for advice on what hardware to get and what is the best optimum hardware for their needs. So he does that. And he is also into music for a long time, drum sets, western drums, and bass guitar. So he has mentors for that. He's very interested in that. So he's very interested in rock, all kinds of rock, and western classical. And he's also learning Japanese language because he's fascinated with everything Japanese. Uh, and he's beginning to think about taking the certifications, 10th and 12th. So we are working on that. So it's the first time he will probably be doing a formal learning. All this while he has been learning on his own, self-directed. And he has many other interests like history, European history, medieval history, architecture. He sketches, he dabbles in oil paints. He's also into physical fitness. So they had all this while he had a trainer, but now his sister is his trainer. So he's training from his sister now. He, along with another unschooling boy, they both train with her now. So, and they both are foodies. My son's also very much into world cuisine, and he sometimes experiments with food and stuff like that. And he reads a lot. He reads mostly fantasy, which is uh, and science fiction. So these are his different interests so far. And of course, space technology and space travel and all that related to space. So yeah.
Okay, so now that we know what your kids are into and what they are doing, I'll just so guys, you can turn on the video. So mom likes to keep the videos on. Anyone who can turn on your video can keep the videos turned on. So the first 40 minutes or like 30 minutes, we will have like I'll ask questions, few questions to ma'am, and then after the Zoom network breaks and we join in, we will ask questions to ma'am as to each individual can ask your questions. Okay? So, ma'am, let's go 20 or 19 years back, and you had your child, the first daughter, and uh, how did this idea of unschooling come into picture? Like, how did it grow, or how did it start? What sprouted the whole journey?
Hmm. So my daughter did go to a play school, and then she did go to a uh, bigger school till grade. I think she just about got into grade one when we decided to pull her out of school. My son was just about born at that time, actually. So, or I think he was not born, but yeah, he must have been 3 or 4 years old, or maybe 2 years old. I don't remember. I think my daughter must have been just about 5.5, 6. And so if he's 4 years old younger, then yeah, around 3.5 or so. So we were, so yeah, so we, we, we were always a bit radical in our ways in that sense, because uh, we were both journalists. Then my daughter was adopted, and we always had unconventional views about a lot of things in our own lives, and our worldviews were always not very conformist and conventional. So we always got drawn to experiments and adventure and explorations. And we did wonder about schooling, because at some point I was teaching in a school also. Um, I, I kind of had quit the high pressure jobs because I wanted to, be more relaxed to be with my daughter and son. So I was teaching in a school, which I thought would be not so high pressure, but it turned out to be even more high pressure than a corporate job. Like I really marvel at the teachers in schools in India, and they pretty autocratic school systems are. The administration is nothing less than how uh, bureaucracy would probably be like in India. Teachers don't have much freedom actually to implement their ideas or their thoughts, or follow their own heart, uh, or the time or the time and the space to treat every child in a unique way. So it's really pretty factory type. So every teacher is given a deadline, is given a lesson plan, is given a weekly plan, and they have to strictly follow that and finish it by hook or by crook. So, and experiments are not at all encouraged, because you have to follow a certain only one way of teaching. So, so I realized that since I've never trained as a teacher, so I had a beginner's mind, I guess. Therefore, I found it extremely stressful for me to kind of fit in, but I still survived for 5 years. But I don't know. I kept thinking about my child, and I thought, okay, if I find it so hard being on the other end, how much it difficult it must be for the receivers who are the students. And that also got me thinking that I don't think this is how children need to be taught. And that's when I also started thinking in the past about my school days. And I realized, okay, I mean, I didn't realize as a child what was being done upon me. I don't realize it as children, I guess. So a lot of that thought got into our decision to pull out daughter out of school. My son's of course never been to school. He's never been to any school whatsoever. And honestly, those few years of schooling has caused some damage, which has taken me so many years to undo. um, and So first we thought of homeschooling actually, which was basically like school at home. But I think 6 months down the line, I found it extremely frustrating and pointless, because I realized that even to homeschool, I would have to be somewhat like the schools. Almost 80% I would have to be like the schools to homeschool. So that's when I was like, I started looking for other alternatives to this. And that's when I came upon unschooling. And then I met quite a few people and came to know about it globally also. And that is the way it all started. And then, of course, there was no looking back.
Okay, I guess anyone who comes out of school wants to homeschool and then realize that's no different from the school. The connection will be lost the moment you start putting pressure on the child. You have to do this, you have to study that, and eventually at some point of time, if you want to still make sure the connection is there, you venture into unschooling, I guess. So okay, so you started unschooling them once you took them out of the school. So did you kind of like prepare an environment, or did you model something, or what was the way that you I don't know got about unschooling?
Well, I think I can pretty certainly say now, after so many years, that the only thing I did was prepare myself. Uh, I didn't have to prepare anything. So I had to prepare myself, which is I had to de-school a lot. So the only preparation for creating a nurturing and conducive unschooling environment is for the parents to de-school. Therefore, so that the whole thing is about deschooling yourself as a parent, and that is all I did. That is all I kept doing, and that is all I still do. So I don't have to do anything really to create anything, but to keep on deschooling myself. And as I de-school myself, so I actually would like to talk a little bit about deschooling, because people ask me so much about how to unschool, and I say, well, deschool yourself. That's the only answer for you. Then what is deschooling really? So a lot of people get confused between, they think anything that is not school is deschool, but that's not true. Uh, there is homeschooling and there is unschooling, but deschooling happens in both actually. So what is deschooling? Deschooling is, you have to remember that you as a parent, your parents as parents, and everyone else in your family and everyone else in your ecosystem goes to school and has gone to school also in the past. And school doesn't mean just a building that you go to. That, of course, is a very big part, but also the way the whole schooling mind thinks. So you're surrounded by, you're actually part of an ecosystem which thinks school. So it is goal oriented, it is structured, it considers few things to be of vital importance. Uh, it has a certain way of living your life, which is considered to be the only way to live. And therefore, you are part of a ecology which is embedded deeply and for years, and actually about 100 and 150 years into schooling, a culture. It's a culture. It's not even the school that you go to, but it's a schooling culture. So, so how do you come out of this schooling culture? Uh, to come out of this schooling culture, you need to de-school yourself. So you have to keep on stepping out of the schooling culture. If you step out of the schooling culture, every time you take one step out of schooling culture, you take half a step towards unschooling actually. So therefore, and that's when you start creating an environment which is different from the school culture. And Suma, it's better if I have the gallery view, because otherwise it's again just looking at my own face. You don't mind. So please remove spotlight if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I have to do it
So,
also.
ma'am,
Yeah.
sorry, so Dola, can you tell me what do you mean by deschooling? Like, what are the steps that a parent should take to deschool themselves?
Well, it is different from different parent actually, depending on how badly schooled you are. How much damage has school done to you, the more you have to work hard towards deschooling. So, for example, for someone like me, who was always a rebel, even in school, I found it hard to conform every time. So I was always questioning, I was always in trouble with authority. In the sense that trouble, in the sense I was a topper in school. I don't know how I managed that, but I questioned and I rebelled, and I always had like, why should things be this way? Why should people be treated this way? So I had these, and I always somehow I think I did not let my teachers influence me too much. I did not let the adults around me influence too much, like my thinking at least. Maybe outwardly I showed signs of conformity, but inwardly I think I managed to maintain a certain autonomy from the rest of the clan. And I'm not saying that is a special quality of me. I mean, I'm just made that way. Okay. And despite that, I had to de-school. Now you have to think of yourself like, how much of a conformist are you? How much of what kind of a person are you? Are you a person who seeks approval from your surroundings a lot? Like, in the sense that if you are not approved by the rest of the people, then you're just going to lose your mind and you're going to lose sleep and you're going to be like thinking very less of yourself. How much of your self-worth is linked to what others think of you? whether it's your parents or your extended family or your community or your friends or your colleagues or whatever. So, so I think deschooling is proportionate. The degree of deschooling, I would say, is proportionately linked to how much of a conformist you are, or how much of a approval seeking person you are. So, do you dance to your own tunes, or do you dance to the tunes of the world? In the sense that, do you have your own eating habits? Do you have your own sleeping habits? Do you have your own, ways of looking at the world? Do you dress the way you want, or do you conform to certain standards outside you? Uh, your views on religion, your views on politics, your views on culture and society, your gender, everything, everything you have to examine. uh, how much of you are actually uh, doing because you wanted to do all these things, or is there even a small question inside you which told you, I don't think this works for me, but you didn't listen to that. So deschooling is the time when you start listening more to that voice, which is probably very small, but you have to make it grow now. Like, in the sense, now you have to make this voice grow. Like, I don't think this works for me. So you start making things work for yourself now. And that is deschooling, really speaking. So if I'll give you simple examples, right? If growing up people told you milk is the best food in the world, if you drink milk, you don't need anything else. Wrong. Okay. If your child is refusing milk, your child's body doesn't need milk. Can you trust your child's bodily intelligence? My daughter never liked milk. She was not even breastfed because she was adopted, right? She never liked milk. I never forced her. And many years later, we discovered she is lactose intolerant. Like, even a small amount of milk, if it goes into her body, she gets terrible stomach cramps, upsets, मुंह पे दाने आ जाते हैं, like she gets pimples and things like that. Uh, she never liked wheat. She never liked roti and puris and all. She would eat it, but her preference was always for rice. And then years later, we discovered that she is gluten intolerant. So, so I think these are the small things in which conditioning is there. Uh, so, so this is about food. So, for example, um, a lot of people will tell you, don't eat raw food because raw food is contaminated. Food should always be cooked. But I have seen my son, he prefers salads more, like, and also he prefers slightly crunchier vegetables than the overcooked Indian varieties. One reason he prefers some of the South Indian stir fries, though we are Bengalis, but he prefers the South Indian stir fries because they are, slightly crunchy, like how you make the beans with coconut or the bindi with coconut. So he finds those kind of things. We'll eat that. So, but as a child, you are probably told, "Sab kuch khana chahiye, sab eat whatever is served to you, whatever is in your plate, you must finish it." But children are literally forced to drink milk. I think a little bit has changed now, but I remember in my childhood, it was like रोज एक glass दूध पीना है. Like, my parents never forced us. My father had no time for child rearing, so he was anyway out of the picture. He was so busy with his responsibilities and jobs. My mother never forced us to have milk and all. But I have seen my extended family and like my cousins, my aunt's children. Every time they drank milk, they puke it out. My aunt would again fill the glass and give it to her. And I'm like, why are you torturing? Even as a kid, I used to be horrified at the torture my cousins went through, at like being forced to have something that their body is rejecting. Like, literally when you puke out something, it means your body is rejecting, right? I mean, when we have indigestion, we puke it out, and when we puke it out, we feel better. And yet I don't know why parents do this. So these are the I think one or two simple examples I can give you where deschooling needs to happen, right? And the other thing is about simple things like sleep time, because I know that every human being needs uh, x amount of sleep. Some can survive on 4 to 5 hours, some need 6 hours, some needs 10 hours. Some prefer to sleep late in the night. Some prefer to sleep in the afternoon. Some people just can't sleep in the afternoon. But again, we make these rules, which are blanket rules for everyone. Like everyone get up early in the morning. Everyone sleeps so at this time. Some families are so anti afternoon naps. It's not funny. Like दोपहर को नहीं सोना है, कुछ करो, busy रखो, सोना नहीं है, ऐसे नींद आ रहा है पर सोना है. And then some families are like, थोड़ी देर के लिए सो जाओ, you need to rest in the afternoon a bit. So it's like, I don't know, but no one ever asks what suits you, like, what really suits you. And therefore, you might find a lot of people are unproductive at workplaces also, because they need that afternoon nap and they're not able to get it. Uh, you know, Thankfully nowadays we have a lot of flexi timings, and people can choose in some industry, at least you can choose your timings and things like that. So for some people, waking up in the morning is great. They love to wake up in the morning, but their body doesn't move till after 1 or 2 hours. They just like to sit quietly, look at the trees, be in their own thoughts. They don't even want to talk to anybody. I'm like that kind of a person. In the morning, I want silence. I'm an early riser, but I want silence. I can't be productive in the morning. Like, I can't immediately get up and start cleaning up, start cooking, start this. I can't. I need 1 or 2 hours of silence, just sitting with my own thoughts, get my body to slowly move, uh, like that. So I think these are areas where one one needs to de-school, and that is when unschooling starts, honestly. Of course, there are many other such areas, and I've just given you a few examples.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent point, Dola. When there's this people who get their children out of school now, especially during Corona, and they expect them, they say it's unschooling, but they expect them, my child is not doing anything, my child is just sitting. I mean, it's their process of deschooling, but the parent is not yet deschooled, I guess. It's not tuned with their own self. So I guess you should give the child the amount and the freedom to deschool themselves from the whole I don't know, the atyachar that the school had done on them. And I guess we should also deschool on our own self. And I love the way that you said that the sleep pattern, the eating pattern is not same for everyone. It's like my son, 4 years old, he doesn't sleep in the afternoon, and my mom keeps telling your mom would you sleep every day in the afternoon for 2 hours, 2 hours. My son doesn't want to sleep. Now you cannot force a child to sleep when the child doesn't want to sleep. He's tired, he will sleep. So I mean, that's the condition. So my mother still has that conditioning. But once I realized that this each body type is different, each person is different. I think once you give them the freedom to explore, they will find their own way. Like now, my son, when he's tired in the night, he would walk up to me and tell, I am sleepy, help me sleep. Before, when I used to irritate him, like, let's sleep, let's sleep, let's sleep, he would like the night routine would drag forever and ever and ever. So I guess, like you said, the more independence and the trust you have on the child to do what they want to do, the more better they can find out what they
Yeah.
actually like and want to do.
Actually, I think examining our own conditioning, because we as adults feel, oh, we are the perfect, we are living a perfectly great life. You ask yourself, are you really happy? Like, are you really happy? You're discontent, probably. You're, suffering from some form of sorrow, grief, or depression. You're not really fully happy with where things turned out for you. And so to be honest with yourself first, that am I doing the things that I really love doing? Am I doing the things that really agree with my body? So when you do that, then you realize that uh, so many things that you are doing is also against your true nature, and it is because of the way you've been brought up, and without examining that you are passing on the same thing to your children, then you can never unschool. I mean, it's better your child is in school, because then your child is at least is away from one dysfunctional person. Like only one dysfunctional person hovering around you all the time. It is better to be among at least another 100, because out of 100 at least 50 will be functional and 50 will be dysfunctional, so there will be some balance. But when you're going to be with your two parents and maybe just grandparents, and they're all dysfunctional, then you're like, oh my god, this is like nightmare for the child. So I would really recommend that you send your child to school then, because if you're going to be doing exactly what you've been doing all your life, or what has been done to you all your life, then you are never going to be able to unschool. So you better not. Then it's really better for the child to be in school, is what I say. Your child will be a far more less confused person than so that's another thing I wanted to add to what you said, Suma, about forcibly putting children to sleep. So I saw this very beautiful meme the other day. So the one frame had a parent putting a baby to sleep. So the pictures of a baby closed its eyes and is sleeping, and the other frame. So this is so the other frame had a ticking time bomb. So the first frame with the baby sleeping peacefully, it says this is how it looks like, and the ticking time bomb, but this is how it feels like to the baby. So the baby's energy is at that time like a ticking time bomb, because you're suppressing that energy by forcibly uh, putting the child to sleep, when the child has so much energy which needs to be expended and not suppressed. And suppressed energy causes a lot of diseases in the body. Energies have to be released, have to be circulated, have to be uh, balanced out. If you put it in a lid and dabao it, then it's going to explode. And
And that's how these tantrums also come into picture. That's at least visible. There might be so many invisible I don't know harm
yeah,
that we are doing
yeah,
by
yeah,
suppressing their needs.
correct, correct.
Yeah, so ma'am, sorry, Dora, so see my conditioner. So what do you tell parents to do, like, okay, like do you have to set an example as to what you want, like some say, okay, we read a lot of books to set an example to have a reading habit in our environment, or we go out, we travel a lot, or we go meet a lot of people, or we get an environment with where there's lots of books, where there's lots of things to explore, or we take them out, or there are people who do so many things, not for a child to learn, because maybe that's also their interest, which might be passed on, or which they think might be passed on to the child. So what did you I don't know, consciously or unconsciously happen to be the environment, or that you thought you provided, or that happened by chance, and that might have facilitated their learning curve, or their ability to come up with, I don't know, solution or something like that? There's something that you have done, or
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah. So actually,
the Zoom call will cut now, so we'll come back after this. We'll have lots of questions for Dola, so please join back with the same link. Okay.